Okay, let's try this again. All right, we're back on. See if we can hear each other. We're going to get a sound test here and go once again. And as soon as we hear from my wife, we're going to keep on going here.
It's not on here.
All right.
Okay, awesome. Julia says.
Okay, here we go. We're back on. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you get we have family members that call us on Messenger, and so for whatever reason that interferes with everything that we're doing. So hopefully none of them call anymore tonight. So if you are listening, family members, do not call me. And they would, of course, they wouldn't be if they're listening, would they? So. All right, we're gonna come back. We're gonna start back over with Alona because we want to hear everything. Okay, so Alona was telling us that she's the second oldest in the family, and from early on, you had some different feelings that go through your life, and they brought you on. So start us back when you were young again.
Yeah. So when I was young, I was a very shy kid, very quiet, and I always felt like I didn't fit in with, the kids around me, and that I just was always just left out of conversations or out of jokes, stuff like that. I just always felt kind of unnoticed, people would always do stuff, without me, stuff like that. And I guess that mattered so much to me, being part of the cool kids, being involved in conversations, and yeah, growing up, once I got...
And everybody wants to be loved, don't they?
Yes.
I mean, but this was something that was big in your mind.
It was. I would come home a lot, and I remember I would come to my room a lot and cry, and I would just be like, God, I just want to why are these girls hanging out without me, and why did... I remember one thing that upset me one time was my teacher. We had a play, and I would always, we would have a play once every year at the end of the school year. And I was almost always put as the narrator. And I'm like, I can act, put me as a character, And I remember it was it was this one play that we were all really excited about, and she assigned all of us our characters. And then she put me as the crew, the team, the one that helps with the setup and all of that. And I was come on. And I remember that was one of the biggest things. I just felt so unnoticed, and I was why do I always have to be in the background? Why can't I be noticed? And I think that's something that mattered a lot to me. And then I got saved when Mike Pelletier came to our church.
So now Mike Pelletier, he's an evangelist.
Yes.
And I was just talking about him the other day,
yeah.
So that's exciting. But anyway, so Mike comes, he's preaching,
mm-hmm.
and you're under conviction,
mm-hmm.
and so what was it that happened when you had come to know the Lord? And when you say you got saved, what does that mean?
I just remember I like I said, I don't remember what the sermon was about or how everything happened, but it was just there's the verse where it's put away the old man and we walk in newness of life and stuff. That's kind of what I wanted, just to be different than I was before, and also to stand out. And that was something really different because growing up, I had always wanted to fit in with everyone and being oh, I just want to be like them. I just want to, know what they're talking about and laugh at the things that they're laughing about. I just always wanted to be fit in and to be normal. And that's something that didn't matter that much to me anymore. It's not something that just went away.
Sure.
I did struggle with it sometimes, but I had this desire to stand out and be different. And yeah, I don't know. And it was just one thing I think back on is it's always sad that teenagers, and even older kids, but they think that, being cool is always, being rebellious, being disrespectful, it's being the popular kids. Like you think about them and you're like the popular kids, like you don't think right away like, oh, they're the really nice kids and they're this. You always think they're like, you know, the bullies, the rebellious kids, the disrespectful ones, the one that like, you know, push kids around. Like that's what you think of, and you know, kids always want to be cool, but like that definition. And I think one of the biggest changes in my life that's happened recently is going to college, and you know, that was only a few months ago, but like I met such a great group of friends there, and I remember like it was just, you know, the cool, like they were so cool to me, like, but they were like the most, you know, passionate people, like Christians that I had ever met, like so bold for Jesus, just so confident in their faith. They would just like stop and pray for random people, like they didn't care at all what people thought about them. And I remember being like, wow, like this is like what I want to be like, this is what I want to be a part of, like these are the friends I want, even if the rest of the world doesn't think that's cool, like, you know, this is,
I remember looking on your Facebook page when you have all these pictures and the whole, you know, little Pensacola thing, and I'm like, she's having too much fun.
Oh, so much fun.
It's I remember when I was in school, one of the kids came to me after I had been saved, and they said, oh, we don't want to be saved because Christians don't have any fun. And I'm like, if I could have jettisoned myself ahead 30 years, showed them your Facebook, showed them all these, you know, everybody just having, and again, it's really not about having fun, but it's about being full of joy.
Yeah.
And knowing the Lord that way.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back to you on that because I want to hear more about that. But Nellie, we're going to come back to you. Okay, so here you are. You're young. You get saved. You come to know the Lord. What happened after? I mean, what did the Lord do? When you look at your life, then it's like, okay, did it just stay the same? I mean, I know that over those course of years, that things were difficult. And but then you come to that place which you're trusting, you have assurance. But what was the Lord doing in between all of that?
So it's kind of interesting. I don't remember a lot of my like early years. So from the time of like 10 years old to probably like 14 or 15, I don't really remember that time. I just remember that not a lot changed when I was after that happened at Camp Shatek, like nothing really changed. I don't remember like, I really don't remember what happened. I remember going to TEAM, which is like a program at Camp Shatek for young Christian teenagers. It stands for Teens Entering Active Ministry. So you go to Camp Shatek for 3 to 5 weeks, and you do a lot of the behind the scenes work, so dishes, cleaning, and all of that stuff. But at the same time, you have like teaching, so you're being taught a lot, and you're with a group of a bunch of Christian teenagers, and you're all there, and you're growing together, and you're working together. So I can definitely say that was like I want to say that was 2000. 17?
So you must have been, what, 15 or 16, something
This
like that?
was 3 years ago. So
Okay.
2017 was probably my first year at TEAM. So I was,
It's hard to think when you're under pressure. Right?
Probably 15. I would
Okay.
say I was 15. So I went there with my Alona, and we did TEAM together. And I just remember that was I like super on fire for God and like did all the right choices? Not really, but I know that that's like when God just like grabbed a hold of my heart and He's like, okay.
What do you think it was about camp that year that really ministered to your own heart?
I just remember being taught so much, and kind of what they describe at TEAM. They say it's basically they take a fire hose, stick it in your mouth, and turn it on. Like, it's so much information, and it can get a little overwhelming, but it's all good, and it's all about God, and it's about how to be a better like person, and how to like change, and how to the sanctification process, like that's such an important thing, and you have to be changing things, like Alona said, like putting off the old, like putting on the new, and I think it was just, I don't know, just a lot of, I feel like God started to show me so many areas in my life that I need to work on.
How important would you say it is to have an experience like that, or to just get the water hose treatment?
Oh, I think it's so important, like, yeah, like recommend it to anybody, like if you have a chance to go on team or some kind of program like that, like it's...
Were you just hearing constant preaching or constant fellowship, just in that respect? Because once you came home from camp, you come home to church and now you're Sunday morning, maybe Sunday night, Wednesday night, and it's like the hose got turned off.
Yep. And I feel like that's when things would get difficult, because you're at camp, you're surrounded with Christian people, and you have this motivation every day, like read the Bible, let's go, we have to go to this session, like you have to be there, you have to do this, but when you get home, you're not surrounded by all those friends, you're not surrounded by those counselors, you're not accountable to anyone, to read the Bible, nobody's like pushing you, like, so that's, I feel like, at Camp Tech they teach you, but when you come home, that's actually when you have to start applying it yourself.
Sure.
And that's when the big, I feel like, growth
So
starts.
now here you are at college. Did you have some of that same experience at college? I mean, because there's a lot of preaching and a lot of teaching in that respect. I mean, I know you're going to school, but I assume you had campus and you had constant Christian influence that way. Obviously, with looking at the pictures, you had a lot of Christian influence going on. So how much of that affected you, or did it affect you in any of the same way that Nellie's talking about?
As in, like,
just towards your own Christian walk, your own life, your own excitement for the Lord, or living for Him, challenge, whatever.
Sure. Campus church was good. I think just with that college having so many rules, and usually Christian colleges do, I think I got there and I expected to come and just be like on a spiritual high, because I'm going to be surrounded by like Christians, I'm going to be going to church every day, like I have chapel every day, like I'm going to be so on fire for God, but because of like all the rules and stuff, I felt like it was more of a religion than a relationship with Jesus, almost like if you don't obey this and if you don't do this, like you're not a good enough Christian, which I'm sure isn't what they want to put out, but that's how I felt. And so, but when I met my group of friends, they've changed me a lot in my walk with God and stuff. I guess I saw it in just a different lens, a different perspective, where it was just so much more personal, and just like the way they would pray, the way we would talk. And how you were saying before about how, some people think Christians can't have any fun. We would always joke around with our group, like, that we could switch from, like, because our group is so spontaneous, so fun, like, they just go and do these, we had a hurricane and they're all outside, sliding through mud puddles and stuff, like, we would do stuff like that all the time. And then we joked about how we could, be like playing spike ball one moment, and then all of us are just sitting around in a minute and like all sharing our testimonies. Like we, how we could just go from having so much fun to just having a serious conversation with God and praying and stuff. So, I don't know, I think it definitely grew me a lot. Just helped me see my walk with God in a different way.
How important would both of you put on having close Christian friends?
Oh, it's so important. I think like once you get older, like family is important, but I think you start spending more time with friends, and you kind of, start leaving the house more, spending more time with friends. And if you have a bad influence, I mean, I've seen it, in a lot of my, families, like a lot, like our cousins, our relatives and stuff like that, like, the way that they grew up, the friends that they started, like, they're completely different than they used to be, like, they're headed down, the wrong path and stuff. And so and then us, like, I feel like friends make a big, big difference.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, Lily, let's come over to you for a second here.
Okay.
All right, so here you get saved. All right, how old were you?
I was 9.
9 years old. Okay, and again, you're hearing God speaking. You come, you pray, you get saved. You know the Lord. What happened? You were how old were you? You were 9.
I was 9.
About 9 years old. So 5 years. What's the Lord done for you in the last 5 years? In fact, let me bring this back. What did He do for you the first week? Do you remember the first week after you got saved? You remember the first night because you told us.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I went home and I slept, and it's like I was at peace and so forth. So what happened since then? What's going on?
Well, one thing that came to my mind when you first asked that question was, well, me and my little sister, we used to like steal from their room. And like we would just,
Now, you're not
yeah,
punching it, you're not punching it.
I did it. And they were, yeah, so we used to steal all the time from their room, and we'd do it just to like bother them and, well, part of other stuff, but yeah, mostly just to like bother them, and I guess that's changed. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, Haley, has that changed? You noticed a little bit of a change?
I didn't know that, so I might just not know something right now.
I was talking with a young person, and the other young person knew them, and I asked them, I said, well, what changed? And then the other young person said they started to get this big smile on their face, and I'm like, what happened here? And they said, yeah, there were no more lawnmowers blowing up.
Oh.
After they got saved. I'm like, okay.
That's
All right, yep, so back to the stealing. All right. So this happened. So after you got saved, you were still doing some of this playing stuff and stealing stuff and whatnot, I assume. All right. So that changed after you got saved, though.
Yeah, I think mostly like, yeah, I just like, I don't know, I realized
So when you go back, okay. So did your family notice a difference? What was going on with you? Do you remember?
I kind of forgot, honestly.
Sure.
Like, yeah.
Haley, do you remember? You remember her not stealing anymore?
I didn't know about it when it was going on, but I do remember, like, kind of during that time we started to have a better relationship, because, like, honestly, she would be the sister that I would fight the most with and that I wouldn't get along with, like, at all, and so.
So now between the two of you, who got saved first?
I think because she was
You
like
did.
5.
Okay, oh, that's right, you were 5. And so how old would you have been when she got saved?
I would have been, let's see, depends what month.
Just a
I
close
think
estimate.
I would have been around the age of 12 or 13.
Okay, so you had a bit of time under your belt in that way. And so you guys, being close in age or somewhere thereabouts, so you had arguments once in a while?
Yeah, like a lot. We're saying things just like bother each other and stuff like that. I don't know.
All right, so did this still happen after you were saved?
I think
I assume it would,
little,
but
yeah.
A little or a lot?
Less
Okay,
than it did, and I think we both felt convicted. I can't speak for her, but I know every time after I don't know, disobeyed my parents or like fought with a sibling or said something hurtful to someone, then I felt like I had to apologize to God first and then go up and, as hard as it is, apologize to that person, because it's really hard sometimes.
Do you still have that feeling?
Yeah, I really
When's the
do.
last time you apologized to somebody? Oh, see, this is on the spot stuff.
Yeah, this really
It's
is.
like, okay.
I think probably about a week ago. I
Okay.
remember. I don't really know.
I
But
can't make it through a week. So
It might have been yesterday for all I remember. It was yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, I think so. Oh, actually, it was yesterday.
Alright, so you apologize to me.
Yeah, and my mom too. But
Okay. Well, it's,
oh yeah,
you know, it's so important to be tenured to the Spirit of God, isn't it?
it really is.
Knowing that when we do sin, that we come before Him and take care of it. So, Haley, what else was going on in your life over those number of years?
Like Alona was talking about, I remember like wanting to fit in, especially at my school. I had a few friends, but we weren't really that close and we didn't talk often. My closest friend at that time, she had Tourette's, so she would just say things all of a sudden and wouldn't really know what she's saying. And so she said a lot of hurtful things to me, so that made me a lot more insecure and I don't know, just feeling less than everyone else. And that's the best way I can describe it. And so it became harder to talk to people too, because I'm like, well, she's treating me this way, then that's how people are just gonna treat me. And I remember making 2 really close friends in that school, and then that school shut down. So I started being homeschooled, and they were going to a public school, and I remember getting really jealous of their friendship because they got really close from being in the same school and hanging out all the time. And so I got really insecure about those friendships. Like, I'm gonna lose these friends. They're just gonna hang out with each other. And they actually started coming here not too long after. And I was still really struggling with that jealousy and insecurity and bitterness. It brought a lot of bitterness into my life. And then I remember they became friends with one of my friends, and that really hurt me because then they're hanging out a lot and I'm not really part of it. So that was a really hard season for me, and I became so selfish, and so I just victimized myself. Like, I am the victim in this story. Like, I didn't even recognize how sinful my actions were of like kind of not wanting to talk to them, and I don't know, we just weren't good influences for each other. Like how Alana was talking about, like, it's so important to have good and godly friends. And so I remember like sometimes before church, then we would hang out at one of the girls' house and we would just talk about everything that girls at that age talk about. I was probably like 12 and 13, so about guys and drama that's happening around, and we would gossip and just listen to music that was not honoring to God. And that became kind of hard for me too, because I know my parents would not approve of what we were doing, and we were watching movies that we really should not have been watching at that age especially. And then so I recognized that, and I decided to kind of leave that friendship, or at least give it some space and not be as close with them. And so then after that, that's when I became really close with Nellie. And so that would have been after she did team. So she just got out of this program, and so she had a lot to share with me. I remember that, and I remember doing a Bible study with her, which I never would have thought I would have done with my friends. Like, when you first get saved, well, at least when I first got saved, I'm like, I just didn't recognize that God can be a part of every area of your life, and He needs to be the center of every area of your life. And so that was one of the first godly friendships that I felt like I had, where she would just encourage me. And I remember even asking her sometimes, and she would ask me, like, is there anything that you see that I'm struggling with that you could point out to me. And I don't remember if we ended up sharing anything, but
Well, you're still friends,
Yeah.
so that could change things a little bit there.
yeah.
Well, what a blessing to hear that you have, and this is really what we call fellowship, between friends. And Nellie, what was going through your mind when you became friends with Haley that way? And you're off a team. Were you just on a Christian high type? And you're just like, I got to give what I got, or what was going through your mind?
I'm not really 100% sure. I know growing up, I also kind of what Alona was saying, like I've always kind of struggled with having my friends, like my people. Being the third oldest, there's Vicky and then there's Alona. So when Vicky and Alona started growing up, they started working, they started being more outgoing because they're constantly talking to customers. And I am this homeschooled girl that's kind of sheltered and I don't really talk to anyone, I'm just kind of at home. And so there was definitely a lot of, jealousy and a lot of, I wanted what they had. Like I wanted to be outgoing, I wanted to talk to people, I wanted to have my friends. So at church, my closest friends were the kids. So because there's no drama between kids. You just go and have fun with them and they become your best friends. So I just remember hanging out with just all the little kids and, there's just so much love there and no drama. So, but then when I started being friends with Haley, it was different because I've never, we have a great youth group, but there's a few people that are as outspoken about their faith as Haley was. And I just remember just seeing that in her and that's different. And so she's been such an encouragement and I'm just so happy that God brought us together. We've been going to this church together for forever, ever since we moved here. But only 2017 or whenever after team, only then God brought us together. And I didn't know that that's right when you left. So I feel like God just brought us together at the perfect time, to encourage each other and to go closer.
Well, it is a blessing. The scripture tells us that iron sharpens iron. And here I was looking for you to say how you sharpened her, but then you're saying she sharpened you. So that's exactly how it should be. All right, speaking of sharpening, young lady. All right, so Angelina, finish us up. Where does your story take you? After you come to know the Lord, what happened for you?
Okay.
Now, before we get going, what number are you in the family?
In the middle, so 5?
Like 5?
4.
Like 4.
5.
She's right in the middle.
Thank you. I was waiting for the sisters corrected, so there we go. All right, so you are number 5. All right, so tell us, so you got saved. How old were you when you got saved?
10.
You're okay, there's that again, so 10. All right, so 10 years old, all right, or thereabouts. And what happened afterwards? What's going on? Because you are now 14, is that right?
15.
You're 15 now, okay. All right, so what's happened over the last 4 years with you and Christ?
Well, after I got saved, and I came home after camp, Mom bought me a Bible, and it was just I love reading it. I would open it, and it helped me a lot to read it, and then mark things I liked from it. So if I struggled with something, I could just look back and see what I read and wrote down. And
Okay, hang on a second. The rest of you like reading the Bible, Lenny?
what?
Do you like reading the Bible, Lenny?
Oh, yes.
Okay, all right, I was just waiting for all the response to come. All right, there we go. Okay, all right, go ahead. Reading, marking it up,
Yes.
the whole 9 yards.
And then after a year of doing that, I started going back to the routine thing. I'm saved, and I'm always going to be saved, and so last year, I was doubting my salvation so much. I'm what if I didn't say the right words when I prayed and asked God to, and
This must run in the family. It's just not fun.
But it encouraged me a lot to hear that Nellie struggled with that too. So she helped me a lot with that. But last year, a missionary came to church, and his wife came up and shared her testimony, and it was exactly what I was struggling with. She's like, she was telling me how she struggled with it and doubted her salvation. Her friend said that it's putting your faith in Jesus. Like, don't doubt your salvation. Like, just give it all to Him. Like, trust Him. And I don't know. I just, on the bench, I was just like crying, and I just felt that peace again. Like, when I first got saved, I just felt it again. It was so good.
There you go. You know, the Bible does talk a lot about feelings, and they don't save us, of course, but we, in fact, the Lord, it tells us that the Lord, He felt our infirmities and the feelings of our infirmities, and so what a blessing to have peace. And I was talking to someone last night, the difference between the world's peace and God's peace. And of course, there's a lot of things in the world that can bring us temporary peace, what we might call, but nothing more. So now we're gonna have to finish up here soon, but I really want to talk to you too for just a moment, because both of you have been really bummed. I don't know about the other three here yet, and if they do, then we're going to point them out. But Nellie, now you, for some reason, you get yourself on Facebook and you just haven't stopped. And it's everything from music to just daily exhortations and encouragements. And I listen to those sometimes, and I'm like taking notes because I want to preach on that. And so it's been good. The whole journaling thing. I hope to get you in on a journaling time. We had a wonderful time with a few ladies and so forth. But what's got you going in all of that? What's the drive?
I don't know. I just remember when I got social media, we have this thing at our house. You have to be 16, I think it is, to have like social media, and you get a phone or whatever. And I just remember, I don't know, something in me recently, I don't know, it was just like, you want to be an encouragement. Like, I wanted people to come on my page and be like, wow, like, I'm encouraged. Like, I don't know, I found an encouragement, or I found Jesus. Like, the biggest thing for me is like, I want God to use me, you know, people that I have not met face to face through social media to, you know, get saved, or to at least start thinking about like, oh, do I have a relationship, or do I know Jesus? But without like the posts and stuff, I feel like sometimes there's so much that God teaches me that I just want to share and share and share. Be like, whoa, this is such a cool thing God taught me. Let me share it. And so there are some days where like God is teaching me through everything, like the little things that He uses in this world. Like, I don't know, I was skiing, or little activities like that God uses to teach me a spiritual lesson. And I think that's the coolest thing. And I just want to share that. And I'm like, whoa, God used skiing to teach me a lesson. Here you go. Like, so there are some days where I'm like, I could be posting lots of posts, but then I'm like, okay, I'll just hold back just a little. Self-control.
There you go. Pull it back just a little bit in that way. So have you been encouraged through all that time? I mean, have you seen the Lord use it in any ways?
Yes, I
And
have.
of course, I mean, even if you hadn't, I'd have to sit here and say, hey, I'm your number one fan. Because I always look, and it grieves me that you're not on there singing every week anymore. Even though you do come on and you do have some songs. And I have yet to listen to the last one, which I understand that you wrote a song, put some music to it, and so I'm really looking forward to listening to that. In fact, my wife and I will listen to it on the way home. We'll dig it out and we'll find it, because I knew it was there. So, all right, Alona, I remember, was it sometime in the last year, I believe. I remember looking, I was stalking you
I do that a lot.
on your page there, and I'm like, okay, what's she got on here new? What's happening? And you had this video on there from Compassion International, I believe is right. And there I just looked, and I'm like, what a blessing! How many young people should just do something like that? But tell us about your journey. Tell us about what brought you to that place. Where did you go, and why did you want to go there, and all of that?
Yeah, so about compassion. So it's like a sponsorship program, and so Vicky sponsored a girl from Uganda, and I knew as soon as I started, and Vicky, like mom, our family kind of sponsors her, and Vicky just writes letters back and forth. So I knew I wanted to be the one that the money came from me. So and so as soon as I started my job, I started sponsoring Fiona. She's from Uganda, and she's 2 years younger than me. So right now she's 16 or 17. She's 17,
Okay.
and so you just there's $38 that are taken out of your account every month, and they go to like education, food, just health, doctor visits, stuff like
So
that.
that's not very much. Did it actually help any?
Oh yeah, it changes their whole life. And I heard that all the time through like compassion, like, blogs and videos and the emails they send you and stuff. But when I went there in real life, and the difference you see between kids that are not in the compassion program and the ones that are in is huge, because the ones that are in the program, they have a hope. Because the whole point of compassion is to like stop the cycle of poverty, because their grandparents were poor, their parents were poor, and it's gonna keep going down and that's where compassion steps in, and they're like, if you can actually, give these kids, like $38 isn't a lot for us, like I always try to put it in a way like, that's like sacrificing like 10 fancy lattes, a month, which is hard for some people, but, it's really not that much.
Coming from a barista herself.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I love coffee. But yeah, how much it changes their whole life, because they can get a better education, they have a brighter future, and because of that, they can stop the cycle of poverty and have a brighter future. Their kids can have a brighter future, and it can be passed down. And so that's like their whole mission. And so I sponsored her for about 3 years, and then I found out that Compassion does trips where you can go and visit your child. So I started saving up a lot for that.
Now, in the meantime, as you're writing back and forth to Fiona,
Yep.
and so you're writing back to her. Are you ever at that point able to share the gospel with her? Do you any spiritual things at all?
Yeah.
Or
Ever since I started sponsoring her, I knew she was already saved. I started sponsoring her when she was about like maybe 14 years old. And I knew she was already saved at that point. Like you could just tell through like the letters, through the way that she spoke, and like she would always be telling me like, I read this, and sending me like encouraging verses and telling me that she was praying for me and like stuff like that. And so, but yeah, I would get letters from her like maybe every 2 months, because it's always away. But yeah, so that's.
So after so many years, you said, "Hey, I just want to go."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on that trip, it's like a 2-week trip that you're in Uganda, but you only meet them one day and spend the whole day with them. The rest of the time, you go and visit other compassion organizations, like they have Survival, which is like an organization for like young moms and babies, maybe like widows or stuff like that. They have other ones for like building wells. They have like refugee camps, stuff like that.
Now, during all that time, is it a religious organization, or is it just strictly about poverty and taking care of people that way?
No, it's definitely.
So you're free to share the gospel, and did you have an opportunity that way while you were over there, or did you able to talk with different ones about the Lord?
Yeah, it was definitely harder because there's like a language barrier, but it's amazing how much you can really do through just like hand motions, through like a smile, through like, motioning to things. I spoke to a lot of teenagers there, because you come and the kids are so approachable. You don't even have to try with them. They just run up to you and like start touching you and start like holding onto your clothes, and like they're just onto you right away. The teenagers are like the ones that like sit back, that like kind of just watch.
Not
have to
these
really
teenagers,
try.
not these teenagers.
No.
They're right in on
Yeah,
it.
that you have to try a little bit harder with them. So like I always, whenever we go to places, like I always try to come up to them and like start a conversation with them. And of course, it was a little bit harder. You have to try harder because they're just very timid and
Sure.
but yeah, like there wasn't like any situations where I was like, oh, wow, like I had the opportunity to lead someone to Christ,
Sure.
but like we definitely, had conversations like that with a lot of people there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, what a tremendous opportunity in that way. And as we finish up tonight, I think what a blessing to have all of you here and just talk about some of the things that are important to you in that way and your testimonies. As a teenager, and I kind of laugh because you're still a teenager, even though you're 19. But as a teenager, what do you, when you think about your walk and your relationship with the Lord, what do you think? I mean, if a teenager's here today and they're just saying, I just really need something to grow in my Christian walk in life, what would you tell them? Angelina, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to give you a second. All right, so what would you tell them? They're just like, give me something encouraging, something from your own heart, something from your life that would minister to mine. Now, by the way, I ask this question to a lot of people, not just in teens, but I'm just randomly, I'll call up one of my friends and I'm like, hey, what do you got for me today? What's encouraging? Give me something. I need it. One time somebody said, I don't have anything. What do you have for me? And I'm like, I'm all ready. I'm ready all the time. So, but all right, Angelina, go ahead.
All right. Well, I would probably tell them like encouraging verses that help me in life. I don't know.
Do you have some?
Yeah.
What are they?
All right. When I would like.
You didn't think I was going to stop, did you?
Well, I guess when I would like worry or have anxiety, like Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 would always help me. It's trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him and he will direct thy paths. And I don't know, it helped me a lot. Like.
Okay. All right. Blessing. Lily.
Okay, I would say probably find someone to hold you accountable, because I feel like accountability is like the best thing, like one of the best things for your walk with Christ, and hold someone else accountable, or maybe the same person, but yeah, maybe find like a devotional for you guys to do, like ask them what they can pray about, like for them.
Sure.
And just like stuff like that, I think is really helpful, and it'll even just help your relationship with that person too, also with God, and just help your relationship to just point more towards God and not just like, I don't know, whatever you guys normally talk about and stuff like that. I don't know.
Sure. All right. Good advice. Aileen?
I would say one of the things that has helped me a lot that we were forced to do in Sunday school, before the Sunday school class, before youth group, is memorize long passages of scripture. That has helped me a lot, especially if I do it in the morning, and then like sometimes I'll write it on my hand, like the whole verse, if it can fit, or on my wrist. But that way you're meditating on it, and so God is going through your mind throughout your whole day, and you can think of ways to apply that verse and ways to view God through that verse. And then also another thing is that has helped me is journaling my prayers, because that way you can always look back and see how God answered it, and you can see how God taught you through it. And
My wife just fell in love with you, by the way. She loves to do that. So
I've been trying to do that. I actually have mine over there that I've been using recently, and then sometimes this doesn't happen every day, but journal about how my relationship with God is going, and then just talk to him after, and I was reading an article today by Got Questions. They answer a lot of Bible questions, like thousands of Bible questions, and so it was an overview of the Psalms. And so one of the things that we can learn from the Psalms is that one of the most profound prayers that we're going to pray is for God to take everything from us, like to carry our burdens, because that's what Jesus wants to do, and that's like his role. He's our Savior, and he wants to help us, and he's our refuge too.
Sure. Well, that's tremendous. When did you start journaling?
Last year I made a commitment to myself that I was gonna journal every single day that year, and then at the end of the year I looked back and I read all the prayers from it.
Oh, really? Okay. So when did you start journaling?
She encouraged me to.
I was wondering if that's kind of where it came from. So you got it. So that's the connection in all of it then?
I think I was recently looking back, and I think one of like the first prayer journals was like either 2016 or 17.
So it's been a while for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. All right. Appreciate it. All right, what do you want to tell everybody?
Well, one of the biggest things I have been encouraged with recently is actually by like a 13 or 12-year-old, which is, but yeah, I was having a conversation with her, and I'm a very emotional person, and a lot of, like, I feel like a lot of us humans, we have lots of emotion, we have lots of different feelings, and a lot of times Christians were tempted to act on those feelings. So like, if we don't feel like reading the Bible, if we don't feel, like for me, there'd be days where I'm like, oh, well, I feel like I'm too sinful, I don't feel saved, or like we're too much on our feelings and emotions. I was encouraged, she told me, she said, when you're going through something hard, or you wake up and you just don't want to deal with the day or something, you need to recognize your emotions. You need to see, like, what am I feeling? And then you need to personally choose not to act on it. And for me, that's been such a big thing. It just opened my eyes. I was like, that's so true. Because if you wake up and you're like, oh, the day's gonna be a bad day, like I can already feel it, and then you just be like, wait, no, I'm a Christian. Like, today is a day that God gave me, and I am gonna choose. Like, you have to personally be the one that chooses how you're gonna spend your day.
I love the verse in Daniel where it says, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. And so there's just that purposing. And so that's tremendous. I appreciate that. Alona, finish us up.
Yeah. I was actually going to say something along those lines too. And it's funny because I was just going to make a post about it, but it's...
You still are, by the way.
I will. But yeah, stop waiting to feel like it. Because I was thinking the other day, I love to run. And I was thinking about running and our relationship with God, you know, how similar it can be. And like, if I only ran or exercised whenever I felt like it, I would see no progress at all. And same with our Christian life. Like, you know, sometimes we have these spiritual highs and we're like, wow, like I just want to spend time with Jesus and sing worship music and praise him and stuff like that. And then other days you're just like, I just don't feel like it. If you're not going to push through those emotions, and if you're just going to wait, you know, until you feel like it to do it, you're not going to see any progress in your relationship with Jesus. And so I was just thinking about that a lot, and just how exciting it's been for me. Like, you know, whenever I run, I'm like, oh wow, like I ran faster than I did last time, or like I had more endurance than I did last time. I wasn't as out of breath as last time, you know. And it's like, it's the same, you know, with our walk with Jesus. We're just going to keep improving and growing, but we have to, you know, we have to stop waiting until we feel like it.
That's a huge thing. I remember a young, I don't know, he was probably 9 or 10 years old, and he was explaining the Apostle Paul when Paul said, you know, we bring our bodies under subjection and so forth. And so he was saying, he said, yeah, you know, when I'm laying in bed in the morning, I don't want to get up. He said, I just remind myself that I'm a servant of the Lord. somebody says, slave, get up.
There you go.
So here we keep our body under subjection. But anyway, so, I appreciate you being here so much tonight. And I wish we could just talk for more hours and hours, because I would just dig in and just hear more about what's going on. So I'm going to turn around, I'm going to close this, but I want you to think about another song you can sing for us. Everybody will just love this, and I will love this. And so you think about it, you can talk among yourselves, whatever, but I'm going to close things up, and then I'm going to walk over there and stand behind the camera, and then we're just going to listen to you. Okay, so we'll look forward to that. So, and we do thank you for being a part of our night. We appreciate you going through all the audio problems that we had. I'm sure we have 2 different testimonies here tonight, part 1 and part 2. So we'll get those labeled, and you'll be able to watch those. But thank you so much for being a part. It's been a wonderful time. What a blessing to hear these testimonies here tonight. And I appreciate you being a part of my night and a part of our time. And again, if you're able, go ahead and join me tomorrow morning, every morning, Monday through Friday, 6:40 in the morning. I know it's early, but if you're part of that day, you'll be a part of mine, and you'll be a blessing in my life. So join us tomorrow morning as we finish up a heartfelt prayer from Psalm 85 as we finish up our week today. Right now, we're going to finish up with a song. These gals, what a beautiful, if you didn't hear that before, go back to the beginning, listen to that song. They're going to finish up with a song, and as soon as they're done, we'll close her up for tonight. So thanks very much, and I'm going to turn it over to these ladies.
God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He is so good to me. I'll live for Him. I'll live for Him. I'll live for Him. He is so good to me.
Amen. Thank you.